that's what all of these cultures across time have been striving for. I was looking at the Sumerian myth, the creation myth, for this closing down this cosmology course that I was teaching. And it's wild because they also have, not a Jesus, but they have this guy named Marduk, who the leaders of the civilization are supposed to embody. They literally, as in many ancient civilizations, the kings are also supposed to be the deities. And the deities reflect these impossible people, almost like, in our case, Christ. That's kind of impossible, right? He's this endlessly charitable, turn the other cheek, do the right thing all the time. He ends up getting nailed to a cross for it, which is kind of what happens to you if you live that out. And so Marduk is also this incredible organism who can see in all directions, and he has perfect speech, and he does the right thing and slays all the beasts. And every civilization seems to orient itself towards one of these impossible figures. And it's interesting what you said about the artists being able to convey some of these deeper, meaningful truths about reality, because I see, as an artist myself, I see being an artist and having done it professionally and lived through that, it's like you're really, as an artist, sacrificing yourself to this goal. Because most artists, let's face it, I don't know anyone actually, well, very, very, very few artists are able to make their way in the world of material stuff. It's mostly people grinding around, trying to live outside of society to make the next Beatles, right? You have to get away from everything that binds you to a society, and you're on the outside, and it's often destroys the people who do it. And so there's something very, it's very melodramatic, but there's something very Christ-like or Marduk-like about going down that path and knowing that, well, your chances of having any game in this world are very small, but people do it anyways. They know that they have to. They're driven. They're tuned into something.
But I think that to bring this back to the analogy of the punk scene, for example, right? The punk scene is the scene that turns away from everything and lives in this destructive, burn it all down, anarchic way. And it's a scene that dies, right? Punk is dead is a cliche because it's true. There's not that many people that are able to maintain the purity of rejection of convention for a very long time, because the end result is living in a squat hovel without running water or heat. Like, that's where you go if you live fully to the embodiment of that artistic form. And I think that what's so hard is to find an art that allows you to live fully as the embodiment of what that art is aiming for, and have that not destroy you in the process. Because most art is not aspirational. We love dystopian narratives. We love darkness. We love the tales of the romantic losers, of the lovelorn women, of the highwaymen and the priestesses that are casting dark spells. We're not really able to reproducibly create art that is aspirational, where when the artists live that life, they don't inevitably aim downwards in this terrible self-destructive
that's
art.
what drove me out of professional music originally, is I was just like, I can't live like this. Like, you spend all night up, networking is essentially what you're doing. You spend all day waiting to play a show. It's very taxing, and of course the substance abuse and just the lifestyle is impossible. Everybody's absolutely broke, poor, and making up for it however they can. And honestly, go ahead.
No, go on. I think there's a really good case actually for just taking arts and entertainment just totally out of the market. I guess politically, I'm sort of, again, I'm not an anti-capitalist in the sense of let's get rid of capitalism overnight. But I think, if you think about the last 70 years, for the 30 years after the war, after the horrors of the two world wars, what we worked towards was a progressively kind of decommodified form of capitalism. In Britain, we took major industries, just nationalized them, took them out of the market. We got the NHS. In Britain and the US, we had incredibly high rates of tax on the wealthy. The average rate of tax in the US between 1930 and 1980 was 81%. In the UK, it was 89%, and it worked, right? I think lots of people have forgotten this. It didn't. This was the most. It didn't destroy the economy. This was the most dynamic economy we've ever had. The so-called golden age of capitalism. Society got massively more unequal for basically the first time. Sorry, massively more equal, basically the first time in history. And then the 40 years after that, sort of 80s to the present day, we kind of tried out Wild West capitalism, sort of slashed all the regulations, slashed those higher tax rates on the wealthy, and massive inequality, crisis after crisis. 2008, the sort of world brought to its knees. So I think that project after the Second World War was going somewhere, of what the economist Thomas Piketty calls decommodifying the economy. So not, you don't know what's going to work, not just sort of Soviet style, let's just start everything year zero tomorrow, but trying things out. Maybe we can take adverts out of public squares. Maybe we can take healthcare and education totally out of the market. And I think a really good case is with arts and entertainment, with advance of technology, with streaming, podcasting. You can just cut and paste whole albums. It sort of no longer makes sense for these things to be part of capitalism. So, to take an analogy, right? I'm an academic. As a university lecturer, I'm not just paid to teach, that's part of my job, but I'm paid to write philosophy. I'm paid by the state to write philosophy. I would be up for just having all arts and entertainment free at the point of delivery, but we pay people a proper salary from the state, from the community, for arts and entertainment on a competitive basis, kind of like you do with academics, right? I'm employed on a competitive basis to write philosophy. I would like to see that with all arts and entertainment. And what's coming out now is people like Thomas Piketty, Yanis Varoufakis, coming out with these very specific ways of potentially moving society forward in these ways, beginning a process to move our society slowly towards something better. And I think people are in some way crying out for this, something that makes sense of their lives, for a sense that we're moving beyond where we are right now. I don't think in 5,000 years we're going to be still in a sort of market economy like we have now.